What is going on, everybody? Welcome. It is Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and you know what that means? That means it's time for Streaming on Streaming. What's going on? My name is Todd Sharp, and I am a principal developer advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service. This is Streaming on Streaming. This is a weekly live stream right here on the AWS Twitch channel. We broadcast every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And we talk all about building live streaming applications with a focus on Amazon Interactive Video Service. I am a little hyper, a little excited, a little kind of giddy today for not one, but two special guests on the stream. Joining me to talk about a brand new feature that we just launched last week, and that is the ability to add collaboration, add multiple hosts to a live stream with Amazon Interactive Video Service. So without further ado, let me bring on our first guest, Max Stoller. Welcome, Max. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Todd. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, great. Of course. Why would I not want to have the infamous Max Stoller on Streaming? So Max is a principal product manager on the IVS product team. And Max, tell us a little about yourself, whatever you're comfortable sharing, what you do at in the org, and yeah, just tell our guests all about Max.
Sure. So I've been here for just about 5 years. As you said, I'm a product manager. And what that means is I spend most of my time talking with our customers and then helping them to build products and making sure that we're building the products and features that meet their needs. And so I worked on this multiple host feature, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Excellent. Have you always been a product manager since you joined the company?
Yeah, I've been here 5 years. I'm always working on the product team and working on video technology.
Excellent. Just a quick look at the chat, and I should have mentioned, of course, welcome chat. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you all coming and participating and asking questions and posting memes and all the amazing emojis. We have Hartstead, we have La Rise and Shine, we have Maxime, Max Art, we have Anilia, Blobs, and Mr. Chowder Clam himself. Always great to see Sang in the chat. But yeah, if you do have any questions as we're going here, downtown Adam Brown is here. And Heartbender and all the rest, very much appreciated. Downtown Adam Brown. I didn't know. Is that a new nickname, Adam? Or is that an existing one that I wasn't aware of? Anyways, multi-host. So up until actually, before we get into that, we have a lot of repeat viewers, but in case anybody's new here, can you give like a general, what is Amazon Interactive Video Service? Kind of what's Max's view on how would you describe this? If you were talking to somebody, let's say with a technical background, I'm not going to ask you how you would explain it to your grandma or anything like that, but someone with a technical background, how would you describe Amazon Interactive Video Service?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing to know is that Amazon IVS is an AWS service that was born out of Twitch, which is pretty unique. We had been building live video technology to power Twitch for over a decade. And then in 2020, we essentially took all of that technology and turned it into an AWS service so that any developer can use the same technology that powers Twitch to add live video to their own applications. We're really focused on making live video easy for developers because, frankly, we know how complicated it can be. And we want to enable developers to be able to focus on building their applications and not having to worry about the complexities of video. So we have customers using IVS to build video apps across many different categories, fitness, education, social networking, but many of them are building experiences that are interactive, sort of like Twitch. So there's some form of participation on Twitch that would be chat, and we now have this new feature around multiple hosts to add to that.
Um, One of the things you touched on kind of reminded me of something. We had an all hands a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco, and you were there. And one of the things that I heard that really resonated with me during that event was um, kind of a customer tutorial that basically said our engineers are not video engineers. They're not experts with video. And I think to me, that's the beauty of Amazon IVS is that we make delivering low latency, high quality live streams easy for people who are not video experts because it took us all these years, it took Twitch all these years to get to the point where they're at today to deliver these amazing streaming experiences with low latency, again, high quality around the world, adaptive bitrate streaming, all of these things that we've worked on over these years. We make it easy for people who aren't experts to build applications like that. So until very recently, within the last 6 months or so, live streaming on Twitch, well, I shouldn't say it couldn't be done with multiple hosts, but it was a lot trickier to do. I back in the day used some third-party tools. I mean, there's like OBS.Ninja and some other third-party, well, StreamYard, things like this that give you the ability to bring in an external host and collaboratively stream instead of being in the same room together or being in the same studio together, requiring that to be the case to live stream with more than one host. So there's always been these kind of third-party tools, but they're always, to me, they were always kind of clunky and not really intuitive or poor performing, things like that. So what specifically was that kind of the motivation for building multi-host as a feature? Was this something that was specifically asked for? How did we get here?
Yeah, so I think you touched on this. We've absolutely seen a rise in collaborative live streaming with companies like Twitch. So Twitch launched Guest Star, which has been really popular, and I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback from the community. But as you said, it's what we've heard from developers is it's super hard to build because generally you have to combine real-time video technology with live streaming video technology, and that puts a lot of burden on the developer. And so, we decided to, in the spirit of making video easy for our customers, we decided to build this in as a feature, which really unlocks a lot of new use cases for customers. So, just like the live stream we're having here, where it's kind of a talk show. And I think a lot of these live streams end up being kind of more fun and just more engaging and more participatory. And so I think there's a lot of potential for multi-host live streams. And now that we've made it easy for developers, I'm really excited to see what they build.
I mean, I think you really hit on it. One of the things that makes live streaming so engaging and entertaining, I think, is the interactivity of it. The fact that we have a chat room here that is posting questions and comments and able to influence the actual flow of our live stream by posting their comments, to take it that next step further and be able to pull somebody out of the crowd. And I mean, of course it could be anything goes, right? I mean, it could be disastrous to pull somebody up, but that's part of the unpredictability is part of the fun, I think, and part of the thing that people tune in for. Anything can happen. It's not scripted most of the time. So that interactivity really is taken to the next level. So are we talking about only live video, or is there an option to do like audio and have like almost like a internet radio kind of thing where people can call in and participate? Got to have that long time listener, first time caller moment, Robert Table says. So any ability for audio only streams, or is it just video?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we support both audio only and audio and video, and so we do have customers that have audio use cases where people are just kind of coming together and having kind of a an audio only discussion and then broadcasting that out to an audience.
Interesting. Um, I know there's kind of we can't go terribly into specifics, but what kind of applications do you see being built with this feature? Do you think you're going to see a lot of things like we're doing here together, you and I? Can this be used for like web conferencing, like a Google Meet style kind of conversation where a whole team gets together and has like this big conference style room? Um, what specific kind of verticals or use cases do you think are really kind of going to really adopt this feature?
Yeah, so I'll share some of the more common use cases that we've heard from customers. So one of them is something we call guest spots, which is essentially what we have here, or what Twitch built with Guest Star. So it's where streamers can invite members of the audience into their live stream, kind of like a talk show. Um, Another really common use case that we've heard from customers is a competitive mode called versus mode. And so this is where two streamers can be matched with each other for some sort of competition. It could be, singing, it could be trivia, it could be dancing. That's quite common. But the APIs are very flexible, and often the most interesting use cases are the ones we did not anticipate. So I'm sure people will use this to build all sorts of cool things that we hadn't considered.
Yeah, that is the fun part, right? When you spend so much time and effort and energy and manpower to build something and the internet decides that they're going to flip it on its head and use it in a completely unintended way, but it ends up being an amazing kind of world changing feature. It's got to be frustrating from an architect standpoint or a product designer standpoint, but at the same time, I guess as long as people are using it and it solves a problem, I guess it doesn't matter how we got there, right?
Oh yeah, I mean uh, we love to see people use the products we build, and we're just excited, even if it's not a use case we had anticipated.
Right. So um we have Sean Dubois who's going to be joining us a little bit later on. And Sean is one of the engineers that helped basically architect and build this feature. So he'll kind of go into it a little more depth, but from a technical standpoint, like how does multi-host work? Is it um, what behind the scenes is going on when you establish a multi-host session? What technologies does it use? Is it what's the latency like? I guess those are a few questions from an architecture standpoint.
Yeah, sure. So basically, the way it works is we're combining real time and live streaming technology. And so we create a real time, essentially a real time video call between the hosts, just like the one that you and I are in right now. And then we provide the bridge between the real time call and the live stream, so that you can actually share that real time call with an extended audience. So you can have a couple hosts who are talking with each other with real-time latency. So it's generally 100 or 200 milliseconds of latency, which is low enough that we can have a really fluid conversation and not notice the latency. And then you can then broadcast out that video call to an IVS channel and have many thousands of viewers just watching just a few seconds behind.
So essentially, there's two elements to it: the real time chat and then the broadcasting. So technically, you don't have to broadcast. Is that correct? I mean, you could just
Correct.
create a tool to allow people to live communicate with a group of people or with one-on-one, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So how does that work with pricing then? So like if I set up a real-time chat room and I'm using that to chat you and I together or a team call or something like that, do I incur costs for that, or is it not is it, or costs not incurred until that's broadcast?
Yeah, good question. So as part of this feature release, we did introduce new pricing for multiple hosts. We charge on a per participant hour basis, and it's 10 cents an hour. And so basically what this means, if you have, let's say we have a 1 hour live stream and you have 2 hosts, you end up with 2 participant hours. And so the total cost for the multiple host portion of that is 20 cents. And then if you broadcast out that 2-person collaborative live stream to an audience of thousands of viewers, you also incur the charges for the IVS input and output for that channel.
So the standard input and output kind of charges that you would be charged
Exactly.
for any kind of channel. So there's no additional charge for delivering multi-host on top of the standard normal
Correct.
charges. Gotcha.
Correct.
So that's fairly cheap. So if you have 10 participants in a chat, it's a $1 an hour basically for
Exactly.
for a video conference. Okay. Well, that's certainly interesting. Do you, I guess, kind of going back to the unintended type things, do you anticipate people using this as a feature just for web conferencing and never ultimately broadcasting that resulting feed?
I try not to have too many expectations around all the various ways people are going to use this feature. A lot of the customers that we've been working with are using this to add collaborative live streams to their kind of Twitch style UGC applications where they have a multiple host video call and it gets broadcasted out to an audience. But as I said before, we've tried not to make the APIs too prescriptive and too constrained, so that customers do have the ability to kind of use it for all different use cases.
Gotcha. We got 4:20 on the clock. We're going to do a live demo here very shortly. If you're just joining us, thank you for joining us. This is Streaming on Streaming. I'm Todd Sharp, Principal Developer Advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service. Joining me today is Max Stoller, who is a Principal PM, and we're talking about collaborative live streams with multi-host, a brand new feature in Amazon IVS. Before we get to that demo, let's see if we can get one more quick question, and if not, we can follow up on this later on. How should I phrase this? So having a web conference type system or application could potentially end up being used for sensitive type conversations. Is security a priority? What do we, if you could give a quick answer, how important is security? We all know the answer to that, but I want to hear you say it.
I mean,
and how do we secure it?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, security, of course, is number one priority, and I think you'll see that across most AWS services, or all AWS services, frankly. I think there's we can separate security and safety. Safety is also a super high priority, and of course, with collaborative live streams, it does kind of open the door to kind of new undesirable happenings, and so. Absolutely, it's something we've thought a lot about. And as part of the service, we do provide quite a few tools to the developer to build moderation into their collaborative live streams.
Cool. I'm going to hit you with one that I didn't prep you on, and hopefully it's okay. But I'll just to kind of throw out an extra plug here. Do you want to talk about the feature that you mentioned in Slack earlier today that just launched today?
Cool. Yeah. So we're launching a lot of features. I'm really excited about it. Very happy to plug this one, especially because the team worked really hard on it and it solves a really important customer need. But basically, we, as part of IVS, we have a feature called private channels, which enables customers to restrict who can view certain live streams. And so one of the most common use cases is the ability to paywall content. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback from customers about that feature, and specifically requests to kind of make it a little bit more secure, make it harder for the most dedicated, malicious users to work around, a paywall. And so as one thing we launched today is the ability to mark tokens as single use. And so what this means is once a playback token has been used to start a stream, again, malicious user cannot then take that, intercept that playback token and share it with their buddy who didn't pay for that content. So really excited about that. I think it solves a very clear need that we've heard from customers.
Absolutely. I think it's just kind of a natural progression of that feature. Not everybody is savvy enough to kind of figure out how to, share those types of tokens, but there are people who, if there's a hole that could be exploited, it's going to be exploited. And our customers, especially if they're charging people for content, they want it to be secure and they want it to be as secure as possible. So 422, if you want to set up the demo, I can run through the chat and kind of catch up on some of those questions. But what we're going to do now is actually demo a multi-host application in use. So Max is going to get that teed up and I will check the chats. Blobs asks, and we knew this question would be asked, are you using Guestar for this? The answer is no, and the reason is very simple. Because the AWS Twitch channel is a channel that many AWS developer advocates use, the tool that they've used forever until this point is StreamYard. And because of authentication and OAuth tokens and these kind of things, I'm locked into using this tool. What? And he puts a laughing emoji in response to that. So would I love to use Guestar? Yes, I absolutely would. I have used it. We've used it on my team internally for some kind of internal calls just to kind of help stress test. I hope I'm allowed to say that. But yeah, so one more quick question. When I was house hunting during the pandemic, I used a real estate app where the realtor would live stream to hundreds of prospective buyers and later separately send us a Zoom link to each of the interested buyer. Would have been cool to have multi-host integrated as part of their app. Yes, absolutely. That would be cool. Blob says, okay, thanks for the answer, Todd. You could have just said yes. Who is Blobs? That's got to be someone on the team, right? I mean, someone knows who I am, I'm sure. All right, so it's James. Hey, James. I'm going to add your desktop to the stream here. And if you want to go ahead and talk through the demo, would love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, as part of this feature release, we also released actually 3 different demos. I'm showing our iOS demo application. And this app is kind of just a really simple multi-host application. And so we'll get started here. I'm going to, I think this is a porcupine. I'll be the porcupine.
So this is your iPhone on the left-hand side there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is, yeah, thanks. So this is, we see my iPhone on the left-hand side, which I plugged into my computer. And then on the right-hand side, this is just kind of a demo page that is right now looping a sample IVS stream. So first thing I'm going to do is create a stage.
Okay.
And by the way, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but basically, as part of the sorry, let me turn off the audio here or make sure I have the right audio. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Hello.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. The joy of doing a show called Streaming on Streaming is that you end up demoing a lot of streaming while you're streaming, which leads to really crazy fun situations and technical difficulties sometime. Can you hear me, Max, or?
Okay, Todd, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, I can't hear you, but we'll just do this live.
All right, sounds good.
So basically what I'm showing right now is myself. I've joined a stage, and as I was saying before, as part of the multiple host feature, we've launched a new resource called a stage, which is essentially a virtual space that hosts can join and then exchange both audio and video with in real time with each other. So right now I'm connected to the stage. I'm kind of on stage, if you will, and I'm just waiting on one of my colleagues, Sang, who's also going to join this stage.
So while we wait for Sang to join, there
All
he
right.
is. All right.
Thank you, Sang. Hello, Sang. We did it. Awesome. So now what I'm going to show is right now we have this stage. Both Sang and I are here. Something wrong with the audio. I think that's just my headphones or something's going on.
Clearly
here.
something's wrong with
in any
the audio.
case, what I'm going to do now is show broadcasting of this stage to the IVS channel. So I'm just going to pull this up. I'm going to press start streaming. And essentially what this is doing is it's now taking the stage, both my video and Seng's video, it's compositing that and it's broadcasting that out to the IVS channel. And I will go ahead and add that to the player and hopefully this works. All right, we did it. Cool. So what we see here is, again, a real-time stage, two hosts, Seng and I, broadcast it out to an IVS channel. And now with this IVS channel, we can have viewers all around the world. We can have thousands of viewers, tens of thousands of viewers who are all able to watch the real-time conversation that Seng and I are having. And then developers can also build experiences where they can pull members of the audience onto the stage to join the live conversation with me and Seng.
And at this point, we're 3 levels deep into stream.
So I still can't hear you, but I'm going to go ahead and turn off the demo here and see if I can get my audio back.
All right. How's that? Can you hear me now?
I can. the joys of live demos.
Yeah, as I was saying while you were kind of had a lull in your conversation there, we were like 3 levels deep in streamception there, where we had your our stream, your stage stream, and then your debug playback, which was actually as Blobs mentions, very good latency. It was like pretty much hovering around 2 seconds the whole time. So but yeah, when you play with all these kind of technologies and you do it live inside of a stream, sometimes I've had cameras die on me midstream. I've not die, but like basically lose. I've had audio. So no worries about that. Obviously, it's nothing related to the technology. It's just the joys of trying to access every single device all at the same time. Very cool demo. So just to kind of recap, and again, we'll get into this in with Sean probably, but today we have an iOS SDK for broadcasting, creating a stage multi-host application and broadcasting it. We have an Android SDK and we have a web SDK as well. All of those are available today. I will also, if I can quickly find it, post a link to your blog post and another link to the user guide. So there's the blog post. There's the user guide, as well as for those who are interested, just because we tend to have more web developers than not in our audience here, that is the user guide for the web broadcast SDK. Yeah, if you're interested in developing with multi-host, adding your kind of virtual stage and real-time communications and live streaming that with Amazon IVS, please check out those links. Max, very much appreciate you joining us today and doing the live demo. I know it's always a little scary, I guess is the word, to demo something live. You never know what's going to happen, but very much appreciated. Thanks for taking the time. Sang as well. Thank you, Sang, for joining on the other end of the stream. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to, Max. If not, understand. But at this time, we're going to bring on Sean Dubois. So
thanks,
Max.
Todd.
All right.
Bye.
Sean.
How are you doing?
Good. If you're just joining us, where have you been? Shame on you. You're 30 minutes late. This is Streaming on Streaming. I'm Todd Sharp, and we're talking about building collaborative live streams with multi-host virtual stages with Amazon Interactive Video Service. Joining me for this half hour is the one and only, the infamous Sean Dubois, straight from the heart of it all, Columbus, Ohio, right?
Yeah, Columbus, Ohio, and I'm down in the basement. I'm as core to Columbus as I can get.
We've got the inline water heater, the laundry rooms, all of that good stuff. Bowtie Ducky says with the washing machine, correct. This is not a fancy green screen effect. This is an actual basement, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I paid a lot of. This was a paid add-on to StreamYard, very expensive actually, but it was worth it.
It looks so realistic too.
Yeah.
I mean, Bowtie Ducky says we keep him in the basement to code more. This is not fair because we have these. Most of the people, some of the people I know in chat, based on their Twitch username, like Max Art and Mr. Chowder Clam, but some of them I don't know, and it's just not fair because they get to make snarky comments, and I don't know who to blame it on later on. I thought that was a vacation background. Darth is Prejeet. Hey, no, I should have known that from the icon there. That's the same icon that you use in Slack. This could be bad if there are real customers here. There's no real customers. No. This is all just between friends here. Yeah. We're having too much fun here. Let me unhide that. Okay. Sean is a genius when it comes to all things WebRTC, correct?
Absolutely not. But I pretend to stay employed. But yeah, no, I love the WebRTC stuff. It's a real opportunity to dive deep into it, and all the things we can do with customers with it. I mean, that's why I love it. There's a lot of different things you could do with streaming video, but I have really fallen in love with WebRTC because of the things I see people build with it. How
long have you been working with WebRTC?
My first encounter with WebRTC was in the browser in 2013, 2014. I worked on a chat server for a company I worked at, and they wanted to add video support to it. And WebRTC had just come out, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was like sending text blobs. It would only work 10% of the time, but I was amazed. I mean, to go from having to install this heavyweight desktop application to having high quality video in your browser was magical. Like it's hard to put yourself back in that mindset 10 years ago. But yeah, so about then, and then a couple of years after that, then I started doing it full time.
Well, let me see here. I guess it was a little longer ago than that. It was more like 2009 when I first started playing with like Red 5 and some of the other media servers. And I thought it was just, back then it was just like complete black magic. Like how in the world, like this actually works? I remember even like, this is way before we even had like any APIs in the browser to like, share your desktop or anything. I was doing a lot of stuff in Flash, dating myself here, but which is ultimately what, where we got RTMP from. But
the thing that's really surprising is like the history of WebRTC goes back all the way to the mid 90s. They had this global RTP network called Nbone, and I talked to some of the engineers that were working on it, and they were broadcasting, I believe it was Rolling Stones did a show on the Nbone, and from your home computer you could watch it on your, they had clients for Windows 3.1 and you could watch it. I mean, like this stuff has been in the process for 20 plus years now,
which is pretty amazing given the bandwidth of the time in the mid 90s. Ridiculously slow compared to what we have today. But yeah, it's crazy how everything kind of builds on each other to get to a certain point, and we end up with these standards and actually kind of polished features. And then sometimes it feels like, I'm getting way off topic already here, but sometimes it feels like a technology like this kind of lingers around for a while, not lingers, and then it just gets this burst of activity and burst of like renewed interest in it. And it just kind of goes forward light years ahead in like 6 months worth of time. And I feel kind of, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that's kind of like what WIP and that kind of stuff has happened in the last year. Am I right about that? Or
that's the way I feel about it. I'm excited that with IVS, I have the opportunity to show, the greater video community and like what is possible with these technologies. I feel like a lot of them is tied up in standards or it's behind heavy documentation. And so now we can bring this out to people that don't really care how it works, but they have really interesting things they want to build. So yeah, that's my hope. That's why I do this job and why I love it, because I want to take these WebRTC things that people find undecipherable and translate it in a way that people that don't care about video can just go build their thing.
Right. Exactly. So for a long time, myself not being a video engineer, I was kind of under the impression that WebRTC was this really cool thing that you could do with JavaScript. Is JavaScript the only implementation, or can you do it in other languages and other technologies? Can you spin up a WebRTC server, for example? What are the options there?
Yeah, so the name WebRTC is kind of frustrating because it's so overloaded. Like the name
web,
web, and then on top of that, there's WebRTC in the browser, which is like WebRTC in JavaScript, but then there's WebRTC, the protocol, which is what two computers talk to each other. And so these days you see WebRTC everywhere. I've worked on WebRTC on little embedded devices with clients that have written in C.
Really?
We have WebRTC. So a lot of popular security cameras now are all using WebRTC from an offering.
Even like one of these little tiny things?
Yeah. So it's like we can fit it, like you can fit it in I want to say it's like 2 megabytes was what it was down to. And like that was great for customers, a super low footprint. They can configure the memory size, and that's like an open source SDK that is provided by AWS as well. But I guess to say like WebRTC really is everywhere, and its adoption is accelerating as time goes on, as it becomes easier. So like if you wanted, you can have a WebRTC, you can build something with WebRTC in Python and C++, in Go, in Rust,
Java.
Java. Like it's really like anymore. I would say whatever language you're comfortable in, you can probably build something with WebRTC.
Yeah, I heard you're a pretty big Java developer. Is that correct?
If someone will pay me to work on Java, I love Java. But most of the time, no. I'm completely incompetent at it.
I spent a long time in the Java world. It's not a bad place to be, in my opinion. But and it's actually kind of grown. All right. That's a topic for another day. You wrote a book called "How Are Your React Skills?" Blobs asks. Are you talking to me? Because if you're talking to me, they're not very great. But it's just for lack of experience, not experience, but I just haven't used it. He wants to know about you.
There's a running joke at Twitch. So all of these, we have like all of these video developers that love video protocols and write a lot of C and C++, but we keep finding ourselves working on these React projects. And so we're all like bumbling through. We have no idea what we're doing. We're like, looking online at all these people that are way better than us and like, oh, we'll figure it out eventually. But
all you got to do is just message Priyajit. Just every React question, just send his way, and Sang and Maxime, and just make them do it all.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they dread every time they go to work on a project and see that I'm involved, because they're very good at it. They understand how to do idiomatic React code, and I'm just like, oh, look, it builds. I'll go ahead and push it, and I'm sure that's their nightmare.
There's we're really getting off the rails here, but this is the fun of live streaming. Let me find it here. Speaking of React, I could do a show just about this. I may do it if I could get away with it. But there's this article. It's on spicyweb.dev. It's called "The Great Gaslighting of the JavaScript Era," and it talks all about like front end frameworks and React. And I agree with some of the points, but here's the way I see it. It's like my kids learning math, right? Or it's like anybody learning math. You should really know how to do math by hand before you get on a calculator and use it. And I feel the same way about web front end frameworks, or any frameworks really. If you understand what's going on behind the scenes and what the abstraction is doing for you, I don't see anything wrong with them. But at the same time, if you have no idea what's going on and you're just copy pasting some code and like you said, hoping it compiles, then yeah, there's a problem.
For me, my JavaScript peak was jQuery when I learned when that grow shrink like era like 2012. I was just like, wow, look at these transitions. Like that was when it peaked out for me.
I liked jQuery.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
Yeah, it was great, but it really kind of got to a point where you had to learn really what it was doing behind the scenes. The amazing chat digital Carrot says Chat GPT does that for me now. Oh God, don't get me started on that. That's what really terrifies me about it. It's like, will my kids are 17 and 16. Will they get to a point where like they have no they just depend on these AI tools for general knowledge? Okay. Yeah, Blob says I've managed to completely derail this interview. Yes, you have. Darth says jQuery is still the most used. I read somewhere. I don't doubt it one bit. I go to a lot of conferences. I talk to a lot of developers, and a lot of people still use jQuery. jQuery, I have nothing to declare except my genius. You know, the thing that made jQuery the thing that made it great back then was we had all these shitty browsers that like had all these inconsistencies, and it hid all that. It abstracted it all away. And we're getting to a point where standards are a little better and browsers are a lot better and they're more quickly updated. So for me, it's like the really big selling point of it is gone. So back to your book. Yep. You wrote a book, WebRTC for the curious. You have a chapter, it's chapter 1, I believe, is the what, why, and how. Can you give me like explain like I'm a 5 version of the why and the how? Because we talked a little bit about the what already.
Yeah. So for WebRTC, like a lot of people, they don't, it's hard to even want to use it because you don't understand like the value proposition or what it actually brings you. And so what I say for the what is WebRTC will allow 2 hosts, 2 computers, 2 phones, a security camera in your browser to connect and exchange encrypted media and data. So that's kind of a mouthful, but to break it down, like here's a protocol that if you want, it doesn't even require servers. I can go and connect to my video doorbell and I don't even have to go out to the internet. Or I can go connect to a server out on the internet and it'll find the best route possible. It has all of these really interesting pathfinding properties that make it a great peer-to-peer protocol. And then the other thing that's great about it is that you have this mandatory encryption. So a lot of other protocols you'll use, it'll be like, okay, maybe set a password, maybe flip this bit. Like WebRTC, it doesn't like, there's no like, it's always encrypted. It's always easy to use. And I find that very pleasant. And then it has all like these cool grab bag of features of, you can send multiple audio and video tracks. You can remove them at any time. You can send arbitrary binary data. So you have this protocol that grew over having like 20 years of industry experience. They came together and designed this, and now we're kind of reaping those benefits. And then,
go ahead.
Yeah, and then kind of the how. I break WebRTC down into like these 4 distinct steps. Like first you need to declare what you're going to talk about with each other. So WebRTC does this bootstrap message,
like a handshake kind of.
Yep. And so, and one of the weird things is it doesn't tell you how to exchange that handshake, because for example, me and you can be in completely different networks. So you can like exchange that bootstrap message over WebSockets. You could exchange it over a QR code. You could exchange. Yeah. So it makes so I've seen some where people exchange it over Bluetooth and now they connect over IP, or they'll do QR codes, or they'll do, all these weird different ways. So it's like, you just got to get this bootstrap message. And that bootstrap message is saying like, okay, my IP address could be this, it could be that. It like, here's all the different ways to find me. Mm-hmm. And then a WebRTC engine is smart enough to try all these different ways. And it says, okay, this is the fastest way to talk to this person. This is like, it has like all of these attributes, and it tells you this is the best way to talk to that person, which is super powerful because now I know the best, like there's like 3 different ways to talk to my doorbell. I could do over the internet. I could do, I could be on a VPN, and it finds like the absolute best way. And that's super powerful for getting like really good video experience. So now like we know how to talk to each other. And so then we do that connectivity checks and we connect to each other. And then we start sending audio and video back to each other because we have like this secure channel that we've negotiated and we've like declared, here's all the possible paths. And you just start sending audio and video. And WebRTC is constantly doing these checks of how much bandwidth do I have available? And so I'll dynamically adjust the video. That's one of the things that really made me fall in love with WebRTC. I was used to these tools where you would like set, okay, this is my bit rate, and it'll sit forever. But WebRTC, like, you know, in the real world, you're going to be, you know, walking with your phone, your internet's going to, you know, someone else is going to like open up Netflix and your bandwidth is going to go down. And so it does all these interesting things where it'll dynamically adjust the video quality. So you get all of these really good, robust experiences that you don't get with other video protocols. So that's kind of like the elevator pitch of like, here's why it's so cool and here's how it does it. And that was the goal of the book, was to remove some of that frustration of like, hey, I'm forced to use WebRTC, but I don't even understand, you know, why.
So that's an awesome answer, by the way. Thank you. That was I was just enjoying listening to you talk about that. I wish we had more time, because I think this has been one of my favorite streams so far yet. It's always, I do these every week, and sometimes it's just me talking to myself, and it's nice to have other humans that can come on and chat with me. So you mentioned earlier, WebRTC can be just point to point, right? Like you and I could do a WebRTC connection directly to one another and do some video. So is that how it works with IVS?
So where that falls down is, imagine if you're talking to 6 other people, you would have to upload your video 6 times. So like that point to point works great if I'm talking to one person. But now if I'm talking, like, let's say, you know, with IVS, we want to support broadcasting out to many, many people. You can't encode and broadcast your video 10,000 times. And that's something that we want to do. And so that's where like the value of IVS comes in. Like, we're running those servers, we're dealing with like replicating that video and providing a good quality of experience. There's all of these things that we've done, especially with the previous experience of running, you know, this very large broadcast network for HLS and RTMP, that now we can bring to the WebRTC space.
So you have this WebRTC server sitting somewhere in a data center or multiple data centers. And if you and I were going to go into a multi-host application, like the demo that Max showed earlier, both of our videos are ingested into that data center. What happens from there? Does it go from that data center out to IVS, or does it come back to, is it broadcast from, you know, the host's client machine, or how does that work? Like, where's the composite action? Where does it get combined?
So on the composite, it's on the client side, and there's a couple advantages that I was excited about with that. So like with Guest Star, we do that client side compositing. It was really important, is we wanted to give streamers all of this control over their stream. You know, you don't want to just drop someone down and put 2 videos side by side and a solid green background and say, welcome, here's your co-stream. Like we wanted to give creators that flexibility to build, you know, their vision. And so that's the kind of the power of the client side compositing. And then there are some cases where you kind of alluded to that, like there are some benefits to the server side compositing, but like at this point, like I think the thing that we were most excited for is like really empowering creators to build that experience they couldn't do other places.
Gotcha. Have you, so you were involved in the actual like implementation of the service from a you know, technical standpoint, as far as implementing this as a service? Have you built anything with the service? Have you built a multi-host application or you know, anything like that?
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun working on the Guest Star feature. So Guest Star was one of the customers of this new multi-host feature, and so working with them, like hearing their feedback about like, we enjoy this API, we find this API could be improved in this way. So writing a lot of MVP code for that. And then internally, we have some tools where we have conferencing tools, we have broadcasting tools. Like I have built probably 5+ things at this point to use these features. A, because I want to go and evangelize how cool I think this stuff is, and B, I want to use the product myself. I built quite a few things with it already, and I hope that like as time goes on, we can open source some of these things, people can play with it, and maybe even roll that into their own applications.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great. I've been playing with it a little bit. I don't want to sound like that guy, but I've been so busy lately I've been traveling a lot. So I was at GDC last week. I'm at another event next week. So between all that, I'm trying to like play around with Guest Star or with multi-host. And so I found it a little tricky so far, but I think it's just the fact that it's a different kind of paradigm that, you know, that you're used to thinking to. thinking about. But I'm looking forward to keep playing with it. And if you say, if you're excited about it, that makes me excited about it. And we should do maybe a reInvent talk or something about it, or workshop or something. That'd be cool.
I would love to. I love, we've designed it in a way where we have these super powerful SDKs that you can use and get your application running up and quickly, but we expose these WebRTC APIs that let you go and build those unique things. So I think we could build something really cool and unique, integrate with other AWS services. So I don't know what it looks like, but I know we've put ourselves in a position where we're not limited. Like we can implement things that other people can't.
Right. Darth, I know you've worked a lot with the APIs and SDKs, just from talking to you. What is your impression of them so far? Anybody else in chat that has played around with it at all? Would love to hear from you all as well. Darth says very simple to use. So just at like a 10,000 foot view, like what is the workflow? So what are the kind of entities involved? Like as far as an SDK method, you create a stage, then you create tokens. How does that all look?
Yeah. So my mental model of how this works is you have a stage, and each stage can contain many participants. And so let's say you want to create a conference room of 4 people, you create one stage and you create 4 participants, and that gets you everyone you need. One of the interesting things is that each participant can be a publish and subscribe participant or subscribe only. So you can build interesting things like a watch party where I can be the only person that publishes, and then everyone can join and they can watch my video, but they actually can't push video back.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so you have interesting things like that. And then also we've built it in a way with WIP so that other tools that speak WebRTC, like in the future OBS or GStreamer or other things like that, they can push WebRTC in. So you can push arbitrary video into your stage and do interesting things there. There's a lot of flexibility. Really, I guess the mental model that I really like to impose is just you have a stage, and that stage is a collection of participants. And just like any other AWS resource, those participants can have attributes and other things. They're managed just the same way.
Gotcha. In your book, I was kind of skimming through it, and one of the statements you made was debugging can be a daunting task. Does that mean I, as a developer, should be nervous about working with multi-host? And is it going to be a pain to debug my application? Is it do we have advanced logging for this? Is this a concern to me as a developer?
No, so just like the goal of any AWS service, when you come to us, we handle all those problems for you. That's why we're here. That's why you pay us. We're deeply looking. That's
why the cloud exists.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, we are looking at these WebRTC stats. We're looking for trends of our we'll be looking at things like video quality and round trip time, and how can we improve our services, and as we roll out features, how do we make them better? And I think that goes to say and if you do run into an issue, we've made sure to design things in a way that they're easily debuggable. Our SDKs were designed to not be 1,000 layers, but if you do find yourself you could even write your own SDK to run against us if you find yourself in a weird situation that you're frustrated by, or you're trying to target a new platform that we just haven't gone to yet.
Is that documented anywhere?
Yeah. So by us using WIP and WEP and these open standards, I can open up JavaScript console in probably 30 lines of code, publish video and receive video from AWS.
From an IVS
Yeah,
stage.
from an IVS stage. Yeah. That was on purpose. We have this mental model of here is our high quality production assets where you go and install them. You don't have to worry about any of the details. But if you do have a custom need, or you trying to target a platform, one of the things we've heard from a lot of customers is oh, we're using this SDK or we're using this platform, something like Elm or React Native, these things that we just don't support yet. We don't want to hold you back from those platforms. We want to support you in what you're building, and we don't want to rip you off of those platforms you already like. And so that was designed with that in mind.
Well, I think it's huge. I mean, that's why standards exist. Anytime you're talking about closed protocols or custom, I don't want to get in trouble here, but like there's a reason why like everybody hates lightning cables, right? Because like, USB-C is ubiquitous. I can use it on everything for the most part, and it all works the same. So point being, protocols or standards are good things. And for us to actually kind of, it helps push the protocol itself forward too, because we gain a lot of experience. I'm sure you've and our other engineers have gained a lot of experience into the pain points of those protocols and can contribute back to them to make them better for the whole industry.
Yeah, and that's another thing that that when we built like this WebRTC organization, we hired a lot of great people that were involved in open source projects and other stuff like that, and we were able to fold them in, and they're able to continue to do that work. So that's another great thing about doing the WebRTC, is there's already so many people out there that know it, that we just have to go bring them in and have them do their best work.
Right. So we got 3 minutes left. I want to give some time. If anybody has some last minute questions or comments or statements or memes, please go ahead and post them in the chat. I want to thank you and Max as well for joining me today. It's been entertaining, fun, and enlightening. Sorry if I've gone off the rail a little bit, but it was fun. I think the chat was enjoying it. One last question for you. I'm not asking you to reveal any roadmaps. Of course, do not do anything like that. But if you had a crystal ball and you were kind of seeing the next few years of WebRTC and this kind of technology, where do you see it going? Like, what's the next innovation in this space?
For me, the two problems I've been chasing down are the getting WebRTC out of all these devices. So like, I see WebRTC in VR goggles. I see WebRTC in security cameras. I see WebRTC in self-driving cars. Really anywhere that has a video camera, I think WebRTC is a good option for that. The latency, the security, and just making it easy to use. The other side is broadcasting. For me, like WebRTC, things like simulcast, things like the ability to roam. So like with WebRTC, I can switch between wireless and Wi-Fi and all these things on the fly, and it just continues to work.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of these benefits that the WebRTC did for conferencing, but now it's just these huge free upgrades that we can bring into the broadcast space.
Are they? Does it hammer the battery pretty bad, WebRTC, or is it pretty performant?
WebRTC uses the same primitives as like other video, so like it's really like you're just sending H.264, you're encrypting it with AES. There is like this. You do use UDP, which does have there's probably some optimizations we're missing out on TCP, but we're going to continue to close that gap. Like,
gotcha.
I'm not worried about it.
Cool. We've got 60 seconds. We have a hard stop for the next show here on the AWS Twitch channel. Thank you all for joining. It's been, like I said, one of the most funnest, whatever you want to call it, streams that we've done here on Streaming on Streaming. Sean, your knowledge, your experience, your abilities, thank you for sharing them all with us and for sharing them. We didn't even mention Pion, your amazing open source project. Everyone go to pion.ly. Is it Pionly? Is it?
No, yeah, just pion.ly. It was the only domain name I could afford for an open source project.
Nice. Check it out, pion.ly. And if you want to learn more about WebRTC. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you next week. Appreciate y'all for joining, and take care.
Thanks.